You're very welcome along to another edition of Tippcast with myself, Ken Brophy, as head of sport of Galena Guard, joined once again by Noel Dundon, local reporter, and Gary Toohey of Clubber TV. Gary Tooher couldn't be here this morning, but we'll have to make two with Gary Toohey. So I got it right the third time asking Gary. So and great to know we have people listening that know I've been saying it wrong. So
straight in your gun, Shane.
Yeah, that's it. We don't want to be turning Marty Morrissey of the Tipperary GAC down anyway. So, lads, we're at county final stage. Lockmore against Nina, second time final between the two back in 2013, the first time. Probably again two semi-finals that probably didn't set the pulses racing, Noel, but look, Lockmore and Nina won't mind that. I think Noel is frozen for a second, so Gary, I might throw that to you first.
Yeah, I suppose there's a big expectation coming into, especially the Saturday game, being on RTE and big noise around it. I suppose, like the game on Sunday, kind of flattered to see from a neutral point of view, but for I suppose Lockmore and Nina, it doesn't matter. I suppose how they won. Now again, Lockmore, I thought they were super impressive. Again, their game management is just absolutely exceptional at this stage. Like Nina with Drummond Sunday, Lockmore didn't let Holy Cross get that running game going and get to use their legs. So, no, look, Eamon Kelly knows what he's doing there. From a neutral point of view, it was probably disappointing. But again, you have to say Lockmore super impressive. And that's 20 games undefeated now in club hurling football in the last 2 years.
I know your thoughts on last weekend's action.
Yeah, sure, Shane. I suppose it was. I suppose in terms of free flowing hurling, and that, like, the second game was more appealing in that sense, in the sense that Nina hurled really, really well, and were fairly dominant over Drum for most of the game. The first game on the Saturday was a more dour type of an affair, where Lockmore really kind of strangled the Holy Cross challenge and did give an opportunity to get out of the blocks, which is exactly what I suppose they would have set out to do, because if you give Holy Cross the opportunity to hurl, they can do a lot of damage to you. But I thought, that there was a fine crowd there at the game on Sunday in comparison to Saturday. Saturday's attendance was a little bit smaller, and with people working and all that, it's more difficult, and probably the fact that it was on RT as well didn't help. But certainly the games were keenly contested. Even though Drum were out of it for long periods of the game and didn't really look as though they were going to mount a challenge, they were having a right go too, and trying their utmost to try and get over Nina. But I just thought Nina showed too much class and too much know-how. Their firepower in particular was very impressive, very impressive. And I think we're teased up nicely now for a great county final next weekend. It's not a unique one. As you've mentioned already, they've met before, but they haven't met for a long time at this stage. So there's going to be a fresh kind of a feel to the final next weekend, and I think it'll attract a lot of people to it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm confident as well. It's something we'll probably touch on towards the end of the show, and we'll be doing a full preview on the final next week. We're just back to last Saturday, and the first semi-final. Lockmore 118, Holy Cross 15 points. And I suppose if Holy Cross were to win the game, it was probably going to have to be a high-scoring one. And I just thought from early on, you could see Lockmore were definitely did the work. But sorry, my Wi-Fi just seems to be dropping a small bit. So, I'll go back to the question there. I think it's Wi-Fi on my end, but just back to last Saturday, and I just thought it was a brilliant game plan by Lockmore in terms of way they made sure that the game didn't get played in Holy Cross's terms, didn't allow them to get quick ball, get it in deep into Holy Cross's inside line. And I believe people will look at that game and think, God, it was, as Noel said, it was a bit dour and there wasn't much to it, but I believe the work rate stats for both teams were off the charts. And when that happens, you kind of get that sort of arm wrestled. I would say defensive struggle where scores are hard to come by, and in that type of game, Noel, Lockmore are nearly have no equal. Did you hear that, Noel? Did you hear that question?
I'd say he's gone. I'd say he's gone there, frozen there, Shane.
Yeah.
But again, like you saying, you can replay that game all you want, but I just think again,
yeah, like Lockmore. It was exactly the game that Lockmore wanted to play, and it was a master class on their part, really. I would say, you know.
Yeah. No, continue on there, Noel. Gary, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, the Demons are out this morning. Yeah, no, again, the game plan, I think it was just from Eamon and the rest of the background team. Again, if that game was played again in the morning, I fancy Lockmore to do the exact same thing again. And when you have the level of Lockmore, they're such an elite.
No, there seems to be a long delay in the link there, but yeah, it was exactly the game that Lockmore wanted to play, and like you know, Holy Cross would have set out their stall at the start of it to try and open the game, make it as open as they can. And as you mentioned earlier on, that they would have been looking for a high-scoring game if they can. If you,
I might have to get Noel maybe to log back out and log in. So, Noel, I might get you to log back out of your link and log back in there again. Gary, yeah, sure. It was like we all go to matches to watch when we good forward play a high score, but sometimes you got to appreciate good defending. And I thought Larkin Egan was terrific. Like, you remember, like Darragh Woods loves Semple Stadium. I'd say I've never seen him as quiet in open play. Now, he hit a couple of great line balls and stuff, but in terms of general play, very quiet. Owen O'Connell was selected. Like, you think when you're not starting John Ryan, you must have a plan in place. And Owen O'Connell was sent after Tiernan Ryan and kept him quiet. So, I just thought Lockmore got their matchups pretty well. They got things lined up that they wanted to.
Yeah, and you know what, Larkin Egan's probably a lad that doesn't get enough recognition. Like over the last, I don't know how long he's the go-to man nearly for the man marking jobs. And you say, as Dara, like every week we come on here after a Holy Cross game, especially inside the stadium, we're talking about what Darragh Woods did, and just he was well marshalled. Now again, two unbelievable sidelines, but he was well marshalled from play. Willie Everson, I thought, was fierce solid as well. Like they're just, I don't know, it's just. It's hard to back him any day to go out. Like John didn't score from play, so if you were telling me before the game, Lockmore, we're going to get over the line without John scoring from play, I don't know, it'd be a lot tighter than 6 points. But do you know what? It was a comfortable 6 points as well in the end. But you're saying there about Owen O'Connell, what a job he did as well. Like so, like John Ryan has been a mainstay in that team, the half back line for what nearly 8, 9, 10 years now at this stage. Not really getting too much game time this year. And there's just lads stepping in and doing just as good as a job. So look, it's a hard game to analyse because Lockmore just absolutely squeezed the life out of Holy Cross, and it was simple as that. They just in that middle third, there was no space in the middle third, and if they did get past the middle third, the final third, it was just forget about it because Larkin, Willie, and Tommy Maher and Brian McGrath back there, they were just absolutely exceptional. So. Like I know we're talking about the final later on, but it's going to be a fierce tactical affair. And I think like the Premier Intermediate final, I think 20 points can nearly win you a county final this year.
It could well do. And you have to give Holy Cross their due as well. No, like they defended pretty well too, like holding Lockmore to 118. John McGrath scored us from play. Ed Connolly taken off early, but just Lockmore were. I think it was both. Like you said, the quality both defending both sets of forwards only scored 3 points in play each. It was really who got the frees, even down to the line balls. Like Darragh Woods hit these couple of line balls, but Holy Cross needed him to probably have his usual Semple Stadium game, but what Larkin Egan said no.
Yeah, that's a fair summing up of it, Shane. Yeah, it was a case of who was going to get the most from the frees. And in fact, before the game, we were chatting in the press area there, and I just made the point that John McGrath is usually good for around 10 or 12 points from frees, and that keeps him going. Keeps the scoreboard ticking over all the time for Lockmore. But I think as Gary had said there, had Holy Cross been told that John wouldn't score from play, and that the other forwards would only come up with 3 points between them from play, I think Holy Cross would have been saying to themselves, we're going to win this game, but Lockmore had other ideas, and even you go back to last year's county semi-final against Thurles Sarces on a really bad day, and Sarces probably wanted the same type of game that Holy Cross were looking for this year, an open game with plenty of scores and all that. But Lockmore just said, no, we're not allowing that to happen. And it's their ferocious work rate particularly around the middle third. And also, I think in terms of last Saturday's game, Brian McGrath was absolutely outstanding for them, at centre back. Really, really outstanding, as was Barry Heffernan in the game on Sunday, but in a different way, Brian just broke everything, got every break, and every ball that Holy Cross tried to play along. They tried to go into cut off that sweeping role and play direct into their full forward line, which has been so dangerous all year. If the other 3 boys in the full back line weren't at it, and Willie Everson had a tremendous game for them as well, as had Larkin Egan and Ed Maher. But if they didn't get it, Brian was there to pick it up. And I think really Brian McGrath was the rock that Holy Cross broke themselves on, because he just did so much sweeping up, clearing, and he was on now. He was on Owen Craddock, who has been a fair role operator for Holy Cross all year, former Tipp under-20 player, and all that, really, really good combative type of player. But Brian really dominated that sector, and I think possibly he doesn't get the credit he deserves either, because his older brothers command a lot of kudos,
And I should look, you see Nolan McGrath 4 points and probably having very little sleep over the course of the week. Like he's nearly not human in this stage. And congratulations to him and the family on their latest arrival, a little brother for Sam. For Holy Cross, I suppose, Robbie Ryan was probably the only forward that really carried a consistent threat. You say Owen Craddock quiet, Mikey Nally, who had a great year, very ineffective in the game, relied a lot like Liam Doyle from long range. Just Dara Woods kept quiet, just didn't get the I'd say I would think Holy Cross will go on to win a few Dan Breens, that this will be a learning experience for them of what it takes to. They'll have discovered, okay, what have Lockmore got now that we need to improve on for next year.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably the one thing that an awful lot of people have been saying, your time will come, but there are no guarantees either that the time will come. And there would have been a lot of clubs who would have gotten to the stage that Holy Cross are at, where they looked as though they were coming with a good team and a young team. And, the narrative will be, you'll be around for a long time and all that. But there's no guarantees with the way it'll go. I mean, Jim Ryan went off with a knee injury. It looks like it's cruciate. Who knows how Jim will come back from that. Fellas move away to college. Remember, a lot of these guys are very young. They're only starting the first year in college. You don't know how fellas will take to college life. You don't know where they'll end up around the world in modern day. That's just the way things are in the modern day. So there are no guarantees. But I think one thing that they're very determined to do, and that's to keep working and to keep learning. And that has been the sort of the mantra from the dressing room. From the moment the final whistle went on Saturday. Obviously, there was major disappointment. I think major disappointment probably that they felt that they didn't perform. Now, whether they were let or not is another question, but they certainly felt that they didn't perform, that they didn't show off their best. But there is a real determination to come back next year and to have learned from it and to build on it. Next year comes with probably a small little caveat too, and that Aidan Stakelum is going to coach Laois, the Laois senior hurling team next year. So he may not be as available to the panel as he would have been this year. I think, having come as well from winning the county final with Lockmore last year, that was an extra little area of spice on the sideline there. But, from Aidan's point of view too, he would love to be doing it with his native club, to take them on and develop them further still. So, there's a lot of balls in the air for these Holy Cross boys. There's the makings of a really, really good team there, but you have to gain experience. And I think experience was possibly the one thing that they didn't have going into last Saturday, aside from the likes of the Cahill Barrs maybe and the Brian O'Mara's and Joe Seals, who have been there at the top level, So it's all part of the learning.
Yeah, and I think you're talking 10 under-21s played last weekend, and I think definitely one thing that Holy Cross do, and they will because of their age with the younger lads, is their physical makeup, their strength. Like they're going to get bigger and they're going to get stronger, and like that's I think like I suppose people listening to the show last year, I would have been sick of me talking about Lockmore's condition, and I think it's gone to another level this year. Like I just think their athleticism is incredible. Even the older guys, the lads in their 30s, like they look like spring chickens at the moment. Like, and like the work Paul Tracy has done with them over the last 2 years, like they're like you think like they're for 2 years now, and they're effectively very 16, 17, 18 guys used all the time, and there's very few lads breaking down. There's very few lads breaking down with muscle injuries or anything like, and that's not down to luck. That's down to good preparation.
Yeah, like just I've been lucky to see them twice in football this year, and I'm actually doing them again now tomorrow against Kilsheelan, and that's where I've seen the real difference in, I suppose, their pace, their condition. Again, when someone comes into a condition, you really need that 12 months plus to really see the effects of it. We saw it straight away last year, but this year, as I said in the football, I think they're going to have a completely new level again this year. Like, I'm banging the drum there. They're my favourites to do double again this year. I think they'll get over to Shield and Comfort tomorrow, but I think that's all down to Paul Tracy. And look, it's not unknown what Paul can do with clubs as well. Like he obviously did with Borlander back in 23, the intermediate. You can see where they're at now. They're really competing at the high level now, the Premier Intermediate. So it's just it's probably it's frightening for the rest of the county that there's such miles in the clock, but the more miles they're putting up, the better they're getting. And like just another thing from the match, Holy Cross got 8 points in play, Lockmore got 9 points in play. And again, if someone said that to you before the game, Lockmore 9 points in play, John McGrath not scoring, as you said, we have a right chance here, but it just goes to show the level that they're actually operating at.
Absolutely. And just moving on to the second semi-final, Nina 120, Drum 112. Now, I got in for the second half of this game, and I thought I fancied Nina beforehand. I think it played out the way I expected. Like I think people were looking back on Drum and looking at maybe the last 40 minutes of the quarter final against Mike Harkey where they ran amok, but it'd be easy to remember that up to the first 40 minutes they only scored 8 points, and then they changed tack and went long. And I said, if they go the same way again, Nina will be ready for them, because as Noel mentioned, Barry Heffernan, and him and Paddy Murphy, they have the size to snuff out the long ball. And I just thought it was a real methodical Nina performance. Like no Mikey Heffernan outstanding in the quarter final against Kilrowan, was missing through injury. Didn't miss a beat. That Ben West came in and got 1-3. So like they're definitely you definitely say Nina are a definite team rather than a collection of individuals this year.
Yeah, they're playing really well too, Shane, and like, you know, I suppose we'd often have said about Nina that it depends very much on which Nina team turns up, because consistency hasn't been their friend in recent years. But I think it's an accusation that we can tame down on a little bit, because they're beginning to put together a run of good performances now. People say, okay, well, they lost to Cashel, but there was very little in that game, and another minute or two, and it could have been a different result and a different outcome.
I think they hit a lot of wides that day, a lot of chances. Like they just didn't. Yeah. And look, some days that can happen. I remember that there was a dirty breeze in Bursley that day that caught both teams out. And look, I think those days can happen. Like I wouldn't say they underperformed massively that day. They've just left a lot of scores behind them.
Exactly. And I think they have brought that bit of consistency to their game. And like I just thought that Nina went about their business really, really clinically last Sunday. They led 12 points to 5 at the break, and at that stage, even knowing what we know about Drum and Inch's ability to get goals from the semi-final game, from the quarter-final game, it was quite obvious that wasn't going to happen last Sunday. That Nina had been forewarned and therefore were forearmed, and they knew what to do when Drum tried to shake it up a little bit and change things around. Drum sent on David Butler at half time, but it didn't work this time. It worked in the quarterfinal, but not this time. The threat wasn't there for goals. And I can't remember Dermot McTiernan making too many saves. I'm not sure did he make any actually in the game. He didn't have to, because Nina didn't allow that to happen. And at the other end of the field, Nina just kept the whole thing ticking over. Ben West came in, had a really good game for them. I think he got 1-3, if my memory serves me correctly, and was really, really good. That's the Nina team, as you said, without Mikey Heffernan in the forward line. And Mikey, aside from the frees, which, Sam O'Farrell took them and hit them fine, did really well on them. But Mikey is usually good for 2 or 3 from play as well, So I just think Nina going to the final in a really good place. They won't be favourites. They're coming in off a good run, and their key players are playing well. Mason Cawley, Sam O'Farrell, Barry Heffernan, Paddy Murphy, and Tommy Heffernan came on as well and did very well for them. So they have a couple of options off the bench as well, which is a big thing. And of course, I haven't mentioned Jake. If Jake fires, he could win the county final on his own. He looks to me to be struggling a little bit. I know he was having injury troubles, and he looks to me to be struggling in the sense that he's not as free flowing as he normally is. But what a threat he is,
he's not. I suppose even around the All Ireland, he's not able to train much at the moment. I guess tendonitis. So it's about managing. But in fairness to him, his level of preparation is such as that he's able to get what he can out of himself on the day. And I just thought it was interesting that the way, when Mikey Heffernan wasn't able to, Jake came out to centre forward, and instead of, maybe you could easily say, okay, we'll start Tommy Heffernan inside. No, they have a specific role for Tommy Heffernan. 10 minutes into the second half, he comes on. He got 3 points off the bench against Kidderwan. He got 2 off the bench, I think, last Sunday. Brilliant guy, running into the corners, offering himself as an out ball. There's a real plan to what Nina are doing, Gary.
Yeah, again, just going back to Drum for a second, some really frightening stats. They had 8 attempts at the goal from play. So they had 5 or 6 points from 1-5 from play, and then 2 wides. Having 8 shots at the goal in 66 minutes of hurling, that's a frightening stat. It just goes to show the pressure that Nina put on him. But concentrating on Nina, look, Ben Westridge, I was pitch side on the field with Stephen Gleeson and our cameraman before the game, and Ben was out there doing a warm up with Shane Hennessy. So obviously, look, the rumours are true, and he was starting. For a young lad like that to be put under, that's severe pressure. Mike Heffernan is Mr. Nina. He's been their best player for the last 15 years. And to be told you're starting instead of him today, and then come in and do what he did. Now, we gave him man the match in the end just for the impact he made, I suppose, from play 1-3. Barry was probably was the best player in the field. But to have something like that come off the bench, and then Tommy got 5 balls. He won 4 of them. And I mean 3 of them. He was actually behind his man when the ball came in first. And just the last second, he popped out with a hand. And he was a good yard or 2 behind the cornerback each time. But to have him coming off the bench, Conor Hennessy didn't get mentioned there. Just his pace as well is frightening.
He really shut down Seamus Callanan.
Oh, jeez, poor Seamus. Just had no luck at all with him. And again, Conor's 20 years of age. To be told, 21 maybe.
I think he's made for Tipp. I don't know whether he wasn't able to commit last year or what, but I just think he has the hurling attributes. He's the toughness. I'd be fascinated to see whether he's one of, if there is a freshening up of the panel, whether he's one of them that could get called in.
I'm sure he'll be in the winter panel. I know Liam will have an extended panel over the winter. I'm sure he'll get a chance. But he reminds me kind of like a Robert Dial kind of style hurler. He played up in the forest in the midfield with CBS and Nina down through the years. He's now back in the backs doing a man marking job with Seamus Callanan at 21 years of age. He wasn't daunted at all, but it was just a very polished, slick, tactical performance from Nina. My Drum didn't have a shot at goal until the 34th minute from play. Apart from Podge Campion's point he got in the 4th or 5th minute. That was their first shot at goal, and it went wide in as well. So just look, the stats just point in Nina's direction. It was absolutely an immense performance. Got every single matchup absolutely perfect. Johnny Ryan has given big mention. Johnny Ryan yet again off the bench, got 2 points in play, got it free as well. Got onto a lot of ball. He got into more ball in 30 minutes, and I said the rest of the team did it in the whole 60 minutes. So look, it's tough for Drum. 5 semi-finals they've lost now in a row. That's not a stat you want to be on the side of history with. But again, Nina are purring really, really nicely. And from the outside in, I said it to Hugh Maloney after the game. From the outside in, there's no noise around this Nina team this year. Usually there's a couple of murmurs here and there, and lads maybe dropping tools. There's absolutely nothing out of camp this year, and that is a great sign for Nina.
Yeah, and like they've been like Hugh Maloney's his first year in his manager. Like I know Noel Maloney and John Brennan are his right hand men. Like they were previously joint managers of the team. So, but like just Hugh demands respect, and you can see he's well organised. And Noel, I'd say maybe second to Lockmore, they're probably the second strongest and fittest team we've seen. Like look in their conditioning, they're absolutely hopping. Like the jerseys are sewing onto them. Like they're if there's one team set up to take on Lockmore in that sort of power game in terms of the physicality game, it probably is Nina at the moment.
Yeah, and actually Hugh actually referenced Martin Bennett when he was speaking to the media after the game, and in terms of the shape that the boys are in. Martin is the S&C man there, and he referenced him and name checked him. Like it's a huge part of the game, obviously, strength and conditioning. And I suppose the one thing, you would say too, Shane, when you're winning matches, it's easy to be moving well. When you're losing, it's harder to get those fitness levels out of yourself, I suppose. But certainly they look really, really pacey. And I think that's the thing that they're going to have to be trying to play on when they come against Lockmore, to keep the thing wide and use the pace that they have and use the energy that they have. Hugh Maloney was, I suppose, one of those guys for Nina who gave of himself every time he went out on the field for many, many years, and for Tipp as well for a while too. So he commands massive respect, and I think the players have really responded to him this year. It's the way it looks like that. They know that they have a bona fide Nina legend on the sideline with them, and they've responded to him and reacted to what he has been telling them. But he's a very calm individual as well himself, and very kind of, you'd say, almost laid back, but quite a serious guy too. And it's clear that he has put together a really good backroom team, and the Nina players have responded to the kind of treatment that they're getting. You don't get to be in that kind of condition by just plodding along. There's a plan there, and the plan has been executed really, really well by the looks of it. And you need a little bit of the rub of the green along the way too. And in any championship, to win any championship, they may have gotten that at different times during the year, but they've taken it and they've run with it. And I think they just arrive in the county final in action in peak form and primed for this game. I think they're really, really primed for the game. And so I think it's going to be intriguing to see how they will tear into Lockmore and how they go about beating them, because the management team as well, the Nina management team, will have watched that semi-final, and they would probably have likened themselves a little bit to Holy Cross in the way that they play, and they'll be very conscious of how Lockmore managed to put Holy Cross in that sort of headlock and still come out. So I think they'll be studying that very, very closely. And from a tactical point of view, as Gareth said earlier on, from a tactical point of view, it's going to be a really, really interesting game. I just hope that it is free flowing, that we get a great energetic final, and not something that's of the dour variety. Although the victor won't care what way it is, I suppose.
No, and maybe just to touch on the final for a little, we'll preview it in depth next week. But if I was to call it now, I'd say it's not going to be. I think it'll be a lot like the two semi-finals last week. I think there'll be both teams. Managements will probably set out their stall. They'll identify maybe certain matchups. Maybe certain defenders will have to pick up. Like if Mikey Heffernan is fit, I would. The talk from Hugh was that he's touch and go. What does touch and go mean? Is he trying to throw you off, or is he genuine that it's an AC joint? They're very, very sore. Will you just put an injection in and see how you get on? Like it's hard to turn over. Like if Jake goes inside, does Larkin Egan go on, and probably Conor Hennessy, who does he go on? Like I think two guys that have come on a ton maybe in the last few games. I think Mason Cawley the last two games has been outstanding, and I think that he couldn't get on the Tipp under-20 starting team this year. I'm not sure he had injury problems or what, but he's really found his form lately, and he's really been tremendous. Gary.
Joe, so yeah, just one thing I forgot to mention, Jake Donlan Hoolan. he was absolutely exceptional.
That's game for me at senior.
Oh, Jesus. And for a young fella to be taken off against Killerone, because he probably was having a poor day at the office against Killerone, to come back and perform like that. And just one moment in the game really sums up, I suppose, the mentality of such a young fella. Dermot McTiernan had a couple of options for a puck out. Jake was underneath the old stand, and you could hear Jake, absolutely roaring at Dermot, give me the ball, give me the ball. He got the ball from Dermot, and then Barry made a run off the shoulder, a 1-2 then with Jake and Barry, and then Barry hit his pint over the bar, which probably scored from playing the game. But that all came from him, dominating that ball. He was, if he didn't get that ball, I'd say he'd be going into Dermot and giving out to him. Just on Mikey, Mikey was togged out. I know he was in the pants, but he'd hurling the helmet on the pitch as well afterwards. So I'd imagine, I'd have a good feeling that he'll be okay. But the thing is, do you start the team that started the last day, or if you're a couple of points down, imagine bringing him on with 10-15 minutes to go, the roar that will go up from their old supporters and the lift it'll give to the players. So that's something maybe to think about. But I'd be agreeing with you, Shane. I think it'll be a tactical affair. I think it'll be like a game of chess, similar to the two semi-finals. Now, I suppose two high quality teams playing a game of chess. But you'd be hoping to be an open scoring game, but I do have that feeling like yourself. And look, if I had to pick someone at the moment, I'd only be picking Lockmore, because I just don't think you can back against them at the moment. 20 games undefeated, probably 21 tomorrow, if to get over Kilsheelan. But Nina, geez, I'd say if you're from Nina at the moment, you're walking around town with your chest out and you're buzzing for this now in a week's time.
Yeah, and I suppose there's maybe, unlike the last few finals Nina been in and came up short, there's a belief Nina can win, but I'd say the pressure is off to a certain extent. Yeah. Some of those finals, we knew they were as good as Lockmore, of Clonalty and Thurles, but we weren't sure could they do it. Now, I think they can, but they're playing this very, very good Lockmore team, and I suppose the fact that even Eamon Kelly, I was talking to him yesterday just for a piece for next week, he accepts that Lockmore will be favourites. And you just got that's the way it is. But that suits Nina down to the ground.
Yeah, I think you're right, Shane. I think there's a different feel to this final for where Nina are concerned. I think in the last few ones that they've been in, they were underdogs by a margin. They're underdogs again for next Sunday, but I think it's a little bit less. The margin is a little bit less. There are more question marks there as to what level they can get to. I think they can get to a greater level than they did in the last few finals. I think they're coming into it in a better shape as well, probably. But the one thing, Lockmore don't do losing finals. They don't tend to lose. They're not losing too many matches either, but they certainly don't tend to lose finals. And the interesting, the talk around here around Holy Cross when the draws were made, there was, would you prefer to get Nina or Drum, or would you prefer to get Lockmore in the semi-final? And the opinion would have been very divided. A lot of people would have said, no, we'd like to get Nina or Drum and maybe win those games if you could and get into a final against a Lockmore if they were going to be the favourites. But then others would say, no, Lockmore in the semi-final because you won't beat him in the final. So they're in the final now. Nina are there to beat them, or whatever way the game will pan out. But I think Nina come into this final in a different mind frame. And it's also the fact that, people say, oh, Nina have lost 3 or 4 finals, whatever the case may be. Not this team. The club may have, but not this team. And I think I'm just looking at their performances during the year. There is definitely something a little bit different about them. The fact that if Mikey Heffernan doesn't start, the fact that you have both Mikey and Tommy to come into that forward line is a major, major thing. My own feeling, obviously you like to see players play. You don't like to see a player missing out. But I think the fact that Nina hurled so well in the semi-final, they might be tempted to leave it as it is. Ben West came in for him the last day. They're not going to leave Ben West off after the performance that he produced in the semi-final. But
he is a very, very good impact sub as well. We've seen it over the years, and Gary as well. So they have options, and the junior championship, they could be eliminated from the junior tomorrow, and that would free up maybe a Conor McCarthy, who I know is very, very close to, I believe. If they needed him last Sunday, they were going to spring him, and even though he's still coming back from his latest cruciate, but I would think if they need, whether Lena are in the junior final next weekend or not, I would suspect Conor McCarthy will see game time probably next Sunday as well.
Yeah, he could do. He's a brilliant forward too, like, and a brilliant player too, like,
Yeah.
and it's just you just do feel that by virtue of the fact that we're even chatting here about, will Tommy Heffernan, will Mikey Heffernan, will Conor, it just shows you the options that they have, and like there aren't a lot of teams, a lot more probably as well, who could say that they have 3 or 4 guys that could easily be in that team. Now, obviously, when things happen on the day of match, you've got to bring in your subs, and more have used their players as well, and used them well too. But John Ryan being one who's there, a mainstay, as Gar said, mainstay of that team for a decade, and now finds himself on the sideline. But what a sub to have to come in the county final.
But he Lockmore could identify the setup and say, we actually John Ryan is suited to play in Nina. John's expertise might be needed from the start. Like Lockmore of that flexibility now that they have. They can go maybe with the strength of John, or they can go with maybe the youthfulness of Owen O'Connell, depending on who they want for a certain matchup.
Yeah, and it's no major deal to them to interlink and to change it up and all that. It doesn't seem to impact them all that much at all. Like, and we see that even with the football too. Fellas come in and out all the time, and it's no major big deal to them. And look, it's a real talking point heading into the county final week. I suppose it's going to be the kind of thing. People will have their own opinions on how the game will pan out. People have their own opinions on who's going to win it. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, I think, whether Nina can get that run on Lockmore in the game for any length of time. And if they do, they're in it a real shout,
Yeah, and I suppose we have to say to people the match is at 3:45 on Sunday week. Don't be making plans for the evening time, because it's winner on the day. I suppose this is where the downside of Tipp getting to the All Ireland and the championship shoved back by a fortnight is that there's no scope for. I don't think there's scope for replay. I think the only way there's a scope for replay if Lockmore lose the football tomorrow, and it might open it up an avenue. But it'll be an interesting one. I was walking. Nina were training last night, and I was using the walkway last night, and we saw Jake was practicing his penalties, and he wasn't missing too many. So, but like even that small thing of the two teams will have to get their penalty men. They'll have to, and both managements will have, even thinking about that, who are my 5 takers in case we need them next week. Like it's fine margins. So like, and you think we've had 3 replays and 1 extra time in the last 5 years, and it wouldn't be on the bounds of possibility if it's not decided after 60 minutes next week.
No, not at all. Like it's I'd say Hugh Maloney's delighted that you were walking around the track last night trying to get.
That's the benefits of the new walking track up there.
Even Kelly behind you around a few moments on the blower there, he will. But yeah, look, come here, Tuesday. Like it's two superbly matched up teams. Like it could go to penalties, and now you'd hate it to go to penalties, but no, I suppose we need to get over this weekend. This would need to have a mass weekend with the junior as well. Like they're absolutely flying the whole club. There's a different feel about them again this year. I keep saying it, but that junior team's a fierce, strong junior team. A lot of the Nina CBS boys are on that team as well. And as you're saying, Conor McCarthy, I saw him there last weekend. Jeez, my first time seeing him up close now in a long time. He's in some nick. He is. He's in some conditions. So it's like spring, as you say, spring him, Mikey and Tommy, along with Adam Healy and a couple of these other lads that they've used already. Jesus, it's it's mouth-watering and stuff, it is, and it's just hope both teams on the day. There's no excuses. Put both feet forward, and may the best man win.
Just before Nina say I'm giving away some trade secrets and Jake taking penalties, there was nobody in the goals. He was taking them against the goals, so you can't say he was under pressure or anything like. So I'd say he was striking them very well anyway. And we get to the bad senior experience for me last weekend, the relegation final, Mullinahone 219, Laura 215. Mullinahone saved for another year. From my point of view, look, deserved win for Mullinahone. They were the better team on the day. They just bought that got greater intensity. They got to the breaking ball, like they were ravenous on the breaking ball. Like we were living off scraps for a lot of it in terms of possession. And look, I suppose we did get a bit going a bit late, and just if it was a few more minutes, we might have had a chance. But look, in fairness to Mullinahone, like any time we threatened maybe to get maybe a bit of momentum, got a big score, and we needed to win the next puck out, they managed to win possession from the next puck out and either win a free or get a score. Like, and I'd say the one thing I was fearing is that Mikey O'Shea has been very, very quiet this year for Mullinahone. He strikes 1-4 last weekend. He comes alive, and like Sean Curran does what he does. And Conor Whelan was back from injury so like they were very, very good. Like, it was disappointing from our point of view to go down after just 2 years at senior. But look, it was just, I'd say probably since the Drum and Inch match, I'd say we probably haven't hit the heights in terms of our performance levels. But like we've competed very well, like losing to Ross Gray, losing to Mullinahone by a puck of a ball. Like, it just shows you the fine margins there is at senior level. You can actually hurl pretty well at senior level now and get relegated. And it was actually something I put to him and Kelly yesterday, that it feels like the standard of senior hurling this year, Noel, has gone up a level. And that you can, as I say, I don't think Laura have hurled pretty badly this year, but it hasn't been enough to win games or stay up, which I think is a great sign for maybe a team, whoever, Lockmore or Nina, going into a provincial club championship, that they're better prepared now, because I do think the intensity and the quality of the Tipp championship has probably, and maybe that's why our teams haven't been competing properly at Munster level, is that we're being regularly beaten by other teams. I think we're the dog nature Tipp, and the toughness is where teams are going to be better prepared going into Munster from now on at senior level.
I just felt, Shane, this year that the hurling in Tipp is on a high since the All-Ireland. I think a rising tide lifts all boats, as they say, and I think Tipperary winning that All-Ireland really did something for the championship. Like, there have been considerably bigger crowds at the games and creating great atmospheres in all the various pitches that you'll go to. Probably Semper Stadium being the outlier, to be perfectly honest about it, because it's so cavernous and that, like, what every player wants to play there. But I think there has been some tremendous games, some tremendous contests as well. You referenced your own clash there with Drum and Inch. That was a fantastic game of hurling up in Cloughjordan that evening. And certainly on that occasion, I didn't see Laura going down. To be perfectly frank, I thought you were hurling well enough that you get out of that situation. And it is a blow to a club to go down. But, you come up against a team like Mullinahone, who are playing for themselves and probably playing for South Tipperary as well, to maintain senior hurling there, and that and a team that when they get in on you, they don't let go. They really dig in, and they dug deep to win that game. But like, I'd say Mullinahone would probably feel too that they produced some very decent performances too earlier on in the year. They ran Thurles Arces very, very close as well, and could
easily catch them for long stages. There was only late on the
exactly, yeah. And Cashel up in the county quarter final. Like, so there's little enough between any of the teams in the championship, and that's the way we want it, I suppose. And then if you look at, say, the bottom half of the Dan Breen competition, or the teams who might be in the bottom half, let's say the teams who didn't make the preliminary quarterfinals, if any of those teams drop back down into Premier Intermediate, they would have absolutely no guarantee that they'd bounce back up straight away next year. And Upperchurch have found that they all the talk, and I say Upperchurch, it was particularly true of Upperchurch. People said, how that was an aberration. How could Upperchurch drop down? They'll be back next year. And it hasn't worked like that for them. And
they got dragged into relegation in Premier Intermediate this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are no guarantees at all. But I do think, from your own point of view, Shane, from Laura's point of view, I think there's enough of hurling in that team to really make an impact in the Premier Intermediate grade next year. If the lads can stay focused and the attitude can stay right, because it is a blow to go down, and it can affect confidence and all that kind of thing. But you just got to take it that next year is a new year, and you go again, and you take every game as it comes and try to get back there. The gap between the top of the Premier Intermediate and the bottom of the Dan Breen is minuscule. There's
No.
nothing between those teams. And, you know, who knows, next year is a new year. But I think overall, if we were to assess our championship so far, I think the hurling standard has been very, very high, and it does bode well for whichever team gets out into the Munster club. I would think right now, thinking about it, if Loughmore get out, the fact that they have been there a few times in the last couple of years, I think they will probably could have the potential of having the greater impact in the Munster Club Championship. Whereas if Nina win the county final, they're going to be celebrating royally, and rightly so, you know.
Yeah, no, I suppose from our point of view, the loss of Derek Guinan this year in our half-back line was massive. Like, just he's county under 20 from last year. He was really flying it, and like I suppose it was the one area of the field where we're probably short in terms of just we've good forwards. Just you can't lose a quality defender like that and stuff. But look, they'll bounce back next year, and I suppose they'll be either replaced by either Carrick Swan or Upper Church Drumban. They are in the Premier Intermediate final on Sunday week. The Swan expected victory over Boherlahan to 18 to 21 points. I thought early on I said Boherlahan have a great chance here, but I thought the Swan, the 2 goals either side of half time really swung the game, and I thought they were comfortable after that.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see Upper Church and Gurtnoo, but I believe the ding dong battle, I think it was 13 times they were level. And then Paddy Phelan pops up with an injury. Fine margins. Keane Hayes hits the post at one end. Paddy Phelan goes up and gets the winning score. So, Gary, if I was to call this, I couldn't call it. I don't think you say Upper Church probably played better hurling over the last couple of years, but I think that there's definitely a steeliness in them, but you say the Swan after last year's disappointment will be really focused on winning this one, and they probably have Eric O'Halloran, I think, back for the final. I think he's on a tour of duty, but he's due back, I think. So, I definitely think this one is the deaf dog. I couldn't call this one now.
Yeah, look, I suppose just on the Swan Duala game again, 2-18-21. It never really sparked life. But just something to notice with Swans, like Swans, they've won every game this year, bar one between South and County. And like they never win a game by 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 points. It's always 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 points. They always do just enough. They're like a horse who gets their head in front, and they maybe get a bit lazy once they know they're out in front. But it's not that they get lazy, but they do just enough every day. And this was a comfortable 3 points. They were 6 points up going into injury time. It was a comfortable 3 points in the end. But Boherlahan, just to give them massive credit. Like, I know it's their second year up, but to be getting to a county semi-final and competing and not being blown away, like, geez, the job they've done there with that young team. And Ryan Bargery wasn't starting all year either for him. So Boherlahan have plenty of scope to improve now for the next couple of years. But just on Swan, Eric O'Halloran for me has been their best player this year. He is their leader. He's their spiritual leader the whole lot. And to do that without him was impressive. Then on the Church side of things, you're saying there about Mikey O'Shea being quiet for one all year. Paddy Phelan, by his standards, he's had a very quiet year by his own standards. And by God, geez, he absolutely lit up. Every ball he touched was absolute magic. 6 points in play. And I just thought who had plenty of chances to put Upper Church away. The wides will they'll be looking back at this and one that got away. But Upper Church have just, especially this year, whatever about last year, I thought they played better hurling last year. This year they kind of at a kind of monotone level all year, and it wasn't a massively impressive performance, but they just know how to squeeze games out. Their game management kind of got them over the line in the end. And this final, as I said about the senior, I think this will be a hell of a lot lower scoring game than the senior final. I think just 16, 17 points could win this county final, just the way both teams set up.
No.
Yeah, a great curtain raiser to the county final, you know. I think it'll be an intriguing one. You know, with the Upper Church have been coming all year, I would say, after not a very successful mid-championship campaign, and there would have been a lot of questions asked of them and where they were and where their heads were at and all that type of thing. But in fairness, I think Liam Dunphy has gotten a good run out of them, and they've just popped along. As Gareth says, it hasn't been too spectacular. Their standard hasn't dipped all that much, but it hasn't really shoved on too much either. But they find themselves in a county final, and you know, sometimes you say the sign of a good team is that they're not playing particularly well or not playing outside of themselves, and they're still winning their matches. With the Swan, and I saw the match against But I've seen them earlier on the year too. I think they did enough. They did what they had to do. I don't think they were ever really in danger of not winning the game. To be honest about it, I think they were kind of in control most of the way. The experience of last year will stand to them as well. They could quite possibly have won the county final last year had it not been for a sending off, which cost them big time. But they seem to be just a little bit more focused and a little bit more, not focused, but a little bit more disciplined. And I think the kind of game that they're playing, they've enhanced that this year too. They just look to be in good shape. So I really think we're in for a cracking final. You know, there won't be too many people coming to Semple Stadium for county final day just to see the senior final. There'll be a hell of a lot of people in to see that intermediate game, that Premier Intermediate game. And I think it could be a really, really good game. There's nothing between them, absolutely nothing between them. Swan have the experience of last year, but that Upchurch team has a lot of experience too, going back through the seasons. There's a lot of hurt there in that Upchurch team. They might just swing it.
And just the thing on Church this year as well, they're going really well in the football. And I did them a couple of weeks ago against Saherlow, and again, their conditioning this year, it seems to me from my naked eye that it's a lot more improved. So like with the Lockmore thing, when you're winning football and hurling games week on, you don't feel a strain. You don't feel they're probably going in Tuesday and Thursday nights just doing half an hour, 40 minutes, the bare minimum, and then we're going playing at the weekend. You've that winning mentality in the back of your head. So the football is doing really well this year. And look, I know we'll probably get into football in a minute, but they'll give Clonmel plenty of a rattle. But no, just on the final, I'm back in the draw there. Simple as that, because I can't separate both of them at the moment.
Like it's the year of the Jewel Club. You could potentially look at Lockmore winning the double, Upper Church Jaban. They'll be under pressure against Commercials on Sunday, and then you look at Golden Kilfeacle are still in the two intermediate football, like, and hurling as well. Like so,
while they're still in the Junior A football, they're playing Clonakilty the weekend now. So whether they'll maybe rest the hurlers, I don't know. But yeah, it's a year for the Jewel, all right, yeah.
Yeah, and like I suppose just touching Premier Intermediate relegation, Burgess survived. They beat Clonakilty 224 to 315, so Clonakilty dropped to intermediate. They'll be replaced by one of West team, Golden Kilfeacle or Knockavilla, Donaskay Kickham's. The near neighbours. Like that'll be spicy in Cashel now next weekend. Like not only will the winner go up, the winner will have the bragging rights forevermore, no all over the other. Like so, that's going to be tasty.
Yeah, it'll be a brilliant final, Shane. It's a unique county final, you know, and on in Cashel too. And we know the links that are there between Knockavilla and Cashel. The Knockavilla boys would love to go and win a county final in Cashel, you know. I like Golden have kind of half been my fancy all year. You know, they've gone about their business in a very efficient manner. They've been impressive as well. Knockavilla probably won't be favourites for it. Golden will probably take the favourites tag, but lads, a local derby in a county final, like they don't come much better. And bragging rights, as you say, will be at a premium there. So I expect there'll be a massive crowd. I think all West Tipp will be in Cashel for that final as well. And we're looking forward to a brilliant weekend next weekend, you know.
Again. So like, I just saw a bit of the Knockavilla semi-final. Like Adam Daly was outstanding. 7 points to play in the middle of the field. Stephen Brown wing forward. It's not they're very athletic. Like I think if this turns into an open hurling match, they're in it. I think Golden will probably want to squeeze it a small bit. But I suppose the only thing I would think, and I'd love to see hurling and football weekend being Thurles Central. I'd love to see the junior intermediate having Semple on a Saturday as well. And sometimes, as Noel said earlier, Semple doesn't help club hurling and it's a cavernous if you get a small crowd. But I just think county final day, and I think we're going to see it tomorrow with the Camogie final, Thurles Sarsfields against Clonalty Rossmore, the first ever senior final in Semple Stadium. I remember I wrote after the two teams played in the final last year, I was looking at it and I said, the rag has gone too small now for Camogie final, and fantastic to see it going into Semple. And like I'd be expecting 3,000 or 4,000 in there, and especially for Thurles. And I think like Clonalty are battle hardened, they're defending champions, but this Thurles team, I think history could be made tomorrow. I think Thurles, this is a massive chance for Thurles to win that county championship. And like if that town, if they can get a big crowd from the town in there, I know there's a big crowd from Clonalty, it should be a special day in there tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think that Thurles team will love playing in the stadium too. You know, they love the space. It's an energetic team against the experienced hands of Clonoulty Rossmore. Yeah, like last year out in the rag for the final, it was you know, they say standing room only. There was hardly even standing room. You know, there was people all over the place, and of course, you only have one side of the pitch really. You can't go up to the far side. You only have the stand side, and it was three deep, and people trying to squeeze in and see. And it was brilliant, you know. It really was good if you could see the blooming match. But so we've gone now to Semper Stadium, and it's fabulous for Camogie finals to play in Semper Stadium. It really is, and the players will love it. They'll absolutely love playing on the sod there, which is in great shape, by the way, at the moment too. Just
Oh, it's
to say that
unbelievable.
too, it's in absolutely fantastic shape. The pitch is. Yeah, there will be a big crowd. Clonoulty always comes strong for the final. They'll always bring a big crowd, and I just hope that the town, you know, the Thurles town will get out and support the girls. It's a little bit different to the hurling team, you know, the boys team, in the sense that you know, there is only the one Camogie team in the town, and you'd hope that they will get the support of all the town. Whereas, you know, when the boys are playing, there's other clubs and that, and other commitments and that. So you just hope that they will come and support them. I think if Thurles do win it, it's been a while coming. You know, there has been an enormous amount of work done since the club turned into the sort of I don't know, would you say
Came under
jewel?
the
But
Sarsfield's wing, like so.
sorry,
Came under the Sarsfield's wing. They were just Thurles for a
absolutely,
long
yeah.
time.
Yeah, since the club, and it happened back in the time of the late John Enright's chairmanship. He brought a proposal to convention one year that the club would introduce a ladies' football team, and they did that, and it was working really well. And at the time, Thurles Camogie Club was kind of at a low ebb, and the proposal then came to the table that the Camogie Club, Thurles Camogie Club, will come under the auspices of Thurles Sarsfields. And that's the way it happened, and it has been nothing but a success, off the field as much as on the field. You know, it has really rejuvenated the club and reinvigorated it, and you know, there's a lot of support coming from both sides now for all the games, and it's tremendous to see when you're in around the field any night. You're going to see, you know, girls of 7, 8, 9 years of age training alongside your Ronan Mars, you know, and that's tremendous to see. It's possibly ahead of its time in the sense that you know, we talk about the whole integration process that's going to happen in GAA in the next couple of years. It's already there.
But it's a nice little another level of symbolism that the county the Camogie final is in there. And hopefully it's probably the start of things to come, that it'll be an annual thing that'll be in Semple Stadium, and hopefully maybe someday it'll be a double header with maybe another grade. That
yes, exactly.
And that's again, like, it's Semple Stadium. It's something we're proud of, and everybody wants to play there. And just for to touch on Clonoulty, congratulate James Heffernan, Clonoulty Rossmore, appointed senior Camogie manager last night in a 2-year term. Like, if there's a man who knows every Camogie player in the county, it's him. So, like, I looking forward to seeing how they develop for next year. Just finally, guys, just the senior football semi-finals this weekend. Gary, you're in Cashel tomorrow. It's a 3:30 start now, I believe, for Lockmore against Sheelan. Interesting to see how Lockmore approach every game the same. I saw in the quarter final against Ballina, Noel and John were rested. Can they afford to take that risk this time against Kilsheelan, who have been very, very good this year? Like, easily took apart JK Brackens in the quarter final. So, and Kilsheelan have been knocking on the door for the last few years. So, it'd be fascinating to see how they'll match up with Lockmore.
Yeah, like with Kilsheelan against Brackens, I fully expected Brackens to bounce back from the hurling heartache. Like, they had a poor, I know they won the mid, but they had a poor year with the hurling, very bad into the year. I thought they'd bounce back and make a stamp on the football, but Kilsheelan were so impressive. Like, again, they're missing Mark Yo as well. Like, they're down a good few bodies this year. For both the hurling and the football. Like, they've just exceeded this year. Now, again, I just think it'll be a step way too far. I think Lockmore should win this handy enough in the end. That's no disrespect to Kilsheelan. It's just a level of Lockmore are operating at. And look, they can probably afford to leave out 2 or 3 boys as well. If anyone is maybe feeling a strain or carrying a knock or anything, I just think Lockmore have gone to a whole new level of their football this year. Last couple of years, it's been more kind of direct kind of playing, but this year, just the move, like you get dizzy watching the movement. Off the ball with the Lockmore backs and midfielders. Like John is playing fiercely in most of the games. We're playing like a third midfielder along there with Noel. But Lee McGrath this year, Lee McGrath has taken his football to a whole new level this year. He's the main man, the orchestrator. Everything goes through him once it goes into the final third. But I just think, Lockmore will have maybe 6-7 points on hand for Kilsheelan. But Kilsheelan, like again, if there is a shock, I wouldn't be overly mass surprised because they are on stretchy level this year with the football, considering all the bodies are missing. But no, looking forward to getting there tomorrow. So it'll be a big crowd there now. As Noah said earlier on, the crowds in the hurling and the football this year at club level, I've seen it gone through the roof. It has. So hopefully a big crowd there tomorrow, but I expect a lot more by a good few points.
And the whole Upper Church, I think if they ride the momentum they have, like more, like they're familiar with Commercials over the last few years. Okay, they haven't beaten them, but like they'll be very, very competitive. And like if like Commercials have looked mortal a bit this year, they haven't hammered teams like that. I thought maybe the extra time win over Mile Rovers might be the thing that springs them on a bit. It was like nothing better than winning a tight local derby, but like I don't think the second semi-final is a foregone conclusion.
No, I think, if you're playing Upchurch in the game of drafts, they'll hit you hard, and they'll really come out and they'll tear into it, and that's what I expected that they'll do with Commercials. So I expect Commercials to win it, to be frank about it, but I think Upchurch will give them a right run, probably for 50 minutes or thereabouts, 45, 50 minutes. Commercial sole focuses on football, and I think that has to be an advantage too, and that they're fully focused on what they have to do. Would have had a fortnight to prepare for that game. Upchurch will have a week, because they'd have had their focus on the hurling last weekend as well. Now maybe that can be a good thing as well, in another way, that you're not getting too caught up in the whole thing, But I just think Commercials are favourites for this game. I think they have the class to come through it as well. Yeah, you're right, Shane. They haven't really set the scene alight, but maybe the accusation could have been fired at them in previous years that they played really, really well coming up to the concluded stages of the championship and then failed to see it out. Whereas this year, perhaps there's a little bit of a different approach. They're getting through their games. They probably were aware that they were going to get through them, and they'll want to arrive in the final with a lot in the legs still. I expect them to come through the Upchurch match by maybe 5-6 points or thereabouts, and then be ready for the county final against either Lockmore or Kilsheelan. Probably Lockmore would be the expectation. Another final between Lockmore and Commercials, something to look forward to too.
Absolutely. And so was another tasty game on Sunday. Will be the senior relegation final. Grange Moker, Ballyneed is killing all two. I don't think they join each other, but they're not too far away from each other. So I think that'll be tasty. And Cloneen, the winner, stays up. Intermediate semis on Saturday, Rockwell Rovers against Commercials, and Golden Kilfeacle in the intermediate final against Turles Arsfields. Could Turles Arsfields be a senior dual club next year, Noel?
Yeah, sure. Look, you might as well take on Lockmore if you're going to take them on. I remember we formed an amalgamation in Mid-Tipperary about just 20 years ago, because I was playing myself, but it was practically every other club in Mid-Tip apart from Lockmore and JK Brackens, and they still bet us. So that's the way it goes.
And the Premier Junior semi-final Saturday, Father Sheehy's against Borsakane in the Rag at 3, and on Sunday it's Clonmel against JK Brackens in Newin at 3. And just before we go, just to remind everyone, next Friday night, if you have nothing else to be doing on your bank holiday Friday or county final weekend, night of All Ireland champions in Nina for Tipperary J and the Dylan Kirk Foundation. It will be a cracking night. Liam Cahill's going to be there, Andrew Ormond, Rona Maher. Unfortunately, Alan Tynan has had to cry off. I wouldn't say cry off. He's been selected for the Irish. He's been selected for the Irish Shinty panel to go to Scotland. So I don't think I don't know if a night in Nina or a weekend in Scotland or Inverness. I'd say that's Alan's taking the wisest course of action there. But we're going to line up a replacement for him. But it's going to be a cracking night. Look, €20 in. We'll have some prizes there. We sign jersey, county final tickets. So look, it'll be a great night. Just to reminisce on the year gone by, maybe getting a few nuggets of information that people haven't heard already. Myself and Will O'Callaghan will be there. Tickets are on eventbrite.ie. So, look, it'd be a great way to start off county final weekend. And look, we'll chat a bit on county final night as well, or on county final day as well. So, look, it's any occasion, lads, where you talk hurling's a good night. So, look forward to that. So, to thank anything you want to bring up, guys, before we go.
No, I'd say just Alan might regret that on his knees and his shins come Sunday morning, not being a Nina Friday night. But no, best of luck to Alan. Just on that, like, I think the Shinty probably doesn't get enough recognition that it deserves. Like, every year it's on, I'm absolutely glued to it. So fair play to Alan. It's a great opportunity, nearly once in a lifetime, because you very rarely see lads go back 2 or 3 years at doing it. So best luck to Alan, and best luck to yourself as well next Friday night. And look, anyone who probably doesn't know, I suppose Will O'Callaghan, like, he's an unbelievable broadcaster. He's really unbelievable lad to get nuggets and niggets out of lads. So,
and any lad who can get James Scahill to wear a Tipperary jersey on stage.
I was actually there at that recording that night. I was, so the roar went up from myself and Liam Hogan. We were there that night.
Yeah, best luck with the show. It should be a great night.
Thanks for that, lads. And thanks. That's about it for this week's show. A comprehensive look back on semi-finals, and hopefully we'll get a show on next week. We might try and get somebody on from both Lockmore and Nina to look ahead to county final Sunday. My thanks to the lads. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.